Alright, this is Andrew with Joda Home Inspections. We're here at 1726 Downington Ave. We have the camera pushed out 126 feet, but we're not yet to the city connection. This is as far as I can get my camera pushed out. I had to go through a couple tight turns right off the bat, and that makes it harder and harder to push the camera out. So we're going to see as much as we can, and I think we're seeing the majority of the line, but there is a section that we're not seeing. So you'll notice a little running water. Running water is just fine. What we don't want to see is any standing water. I run water through the shower to help push the camera out. That helped me push out an extra 30 or 40 feet here. Still wasn't enough to get all the way out. So I see text written on the side of the pipe, which can indicate that you have a liner. So far it's looking like you have good grade. And that's one of the main things that I'm looking at, is whether you have any standing water that would indicate improper grade. So far I've not found any roots. Little tiny buildup on the line, but really not bad. Average length of a line that I see is around 100 feet, maybe 120 from the roof. And so I would consider this one to be a little bit more on the longer side, since we were 125 and still didn't hit the city connection. Oh. 88 feet out. I might have to take that back. We might have dropped into the city line and I hadn't realized it. Sometimes when I push the camera out, if I'm blocked by any sort of debris, I sometimes drop into the city line and without realizing that I did. Interesting. So 88 feet, I mean, that's going to be on the shorter side. I'm trying to see if that is dropping in perpendicular or if this is just a turn. Pull it back slow. The reason I'm doubting if that's the city line is because it looks like okay, I barely see it. Kind of on the right side. I couldn't see if that was just a 90-degree turn and it was still your line, or whether it was actually dropping in perpendicular. It does look like that's perpendicular. And so I'm going to say that is the city connection, which would make this the nose on. Looks like gravel cement from what I can tell. The nose on is where it goes from your lateral line into the main city line. And it looks like a good connection there. So that first part of the line you can basically ignore, because that's not your responsibility. That's the city line, from what I can tell. Looks like you do have pretty good sized roots, big enough that I'd recommend cleaning it out now. Already there's a little toilet paper stuck on it. And then once it's hydrojetted out, they will generally camera it, and then you can see the line again once it's cleaned, which can be insightful because you can have things hiding behind the buildup in the roots. And this is an example of an offset, and I'm only pointing it out as an example. That one's extremely minor, but one of the things I'm looking for are any offsets so the pipes have slipped or become disconnected. Looks like we transitioned into some plastic, and so it does look like they've replaced part of the line. Since the first little bit was not plastic, it was gravel cement. That means they probably replaced it through the yard, but not into the street, which is not uncommon because it does cost quite a bit more to replace it in the street because you have to re-pour the asphalt. Little build up through here. That certainly could get removed with the hydrojet. Doesn't look like it's really holding a lot of water, which is a good sign. Looks like this is PVC pipe. Now we just transition, looks like cast iron, and that's what's going to be under the house. Cast iron's probably the weakest link. It gets rough and rusty. It will eventually need to be replaced. But it looks like you have some ABS as well, so they have replaced some of it. And this is roughly the area where I went through those turns, like one there. Another one there. Now we're coming straight back up to the roof stack. Overall, it looks like the line's performing pretty well. You do want to have those roots cleaned, and then I'd recommend having it scoped again, which is generally just part of the hydrojet, depending on who's doing it. But usually they'll camera it as well and give you a recording of that and reevaluate it, just to be sure that it looks good once everything's been cleaned out. Also, when they hydrojet, they usually camera to ensure that they removed all of the roots. You don't have a ton of joints with roots, but you have a couple, and the one was blocking a good, third of the pipe roughly, and so I would recommend getting it cleaned out now. I'm going to end this recording now. One last thing I'm going to mention. I would recommend the insurance on the line. Even though a lot of the pipe's already been replaced, you could get home served, and that would help cover the cost if you have any bigger concerns in the future, or if you have any backups. Since you do still have some of that older line through the road, it would help cover that. It doesn't cover what's under the house, but it helps cover that older line in the road. I'm going to end this recording now.